Hi, I'm Barry Atkinson, a member of the editorial team here at Traplet, and welcome to the main warehouse here in Malvern, where all your plans and wood packs that you see in the magazines every month are all put together and sent out to you, the customer, wherever you may be in the world. Just recently here at Traplet, we've invested in the latest digital printer. As you can see, they print fairly quickly, and the plans are now a nice clean white colour, more in keeping with the free plans that you see in the magazines every month. This kind of plan I think is much easier to read than the old die lines, and we'll make a comparison in a minute. Okay, as you can see, there's a comparison between the old die line and the new digital. I think most people would agree this new style is much easier to read, although many of you will have grown up with the old die line. Also, this is much more environmentally friendly as well. But I think there's no question about it, these are much easier to read than the older style plan. So that's how the latest plans are produced on the digital printer, and you'll be aware from looking in the plans guide or on the website that many of our plans from Traplet are by people like Brian Taylor, Dennis Bryant, and many of the other top designers that you see in the magazines every month. And so it's only appropriate really that because of the quality of those plans, we've decided to produce wood packs that are available to you. And again, it mentions which kits have wood packs currently available, and that range is extending all the time. And so if you buy a wood pack, this is likely what you'll get. There's two extremes here. This is the Brian Taylor Spitfire on my left, and this is a much simpler kit called a Buzz 400. You can see there's a vast difference in the size of the wood kits, but we'll look at those in more detail in a minute. But as you can see, I've just got two parts from the Brian Taylor kit here, one in very thin balsa and one in some light ply, and you can see that the parts are very well laid out. There's maximum use of wood, and of course the main selling point of laser cut parts is that they are very accurate. The cut line is very, very fine indeed. I'm sure if you've never seen it before, you're going to be very curious as to how they're produced. So let's go and take a look. This is one of the two laser cutters we've got here. This enables us to produce the wood packs much more efficiently than would be done by the old CNC system, and it's also very quick. Just like the digital printer we saw earlier, the CAD files for each piece that we're going to cut are loaded from a computer. Insert the piece of wood into the laser cutter, it finds its home position on the corner of the wood, and away it will go and cut out the piece as we just saw. A piece of balsa like this would typically take about 2 minutes to cut, depending on the number of parts that are actually in the piece. Anyone that's ever truly produced a plan-built model from scratch will know that just what you've seen in the last few seconds is quite a bit of work with the old fret saw. To demonstrate how you remove a piece from a larger piece of wood ready, basically just a simple scalpel and just cut through the tag lines depending on the size of the piece, the rib, form that you're cutting out. There will be more or less tag lines. You just really need to follow the outline round. A quick cut in each, and the piece should just pop out and be quite literally ready to use. One of the beauties of laser cutting is that it does provide you with a ready to work surface. Okay, I think we've got all the tag lines there. Basically, as you can see, the piece pops out, and there is rib 3 ready to use. Notice a very clean surface. You might want just the slightest sand over where the tag lines were, but essentially that is ready to now use in position on the plan. You're essentially provided with all the major parts. What you don't get are things like these spars. You won't get things like bell cranks, wheels, piano wire if there's any involved in the model, things to make a leading edge with. Those are all bits of wood which we will need to buy separately, and that's what makes a wood pack different from the old-fashioned kits. Let's take a look at one of the formers. The parts are cut in the materials that are stated on the plan. So if we take as an example this former here, which is part of the turtle deck of the Spitfire, that's cut in this plywood in exactly the same fashion as the balsa wood. It's held with these little tag lines at relevant points. You just need probably a slightly more stout knife to cut those through in the case of plywood, and the piece will pop out exactly as it did with the lighter balsa. A point worth mentioning on on these ply parts is that sometimes in the thicker wood you can get a layer of soot, carbon essentially, from the laser. It's often a good idea just to, either with a cloth, some people use a brush, a toothbrush, is to rub over the line just to remove any soot that might be on it. The surface underneath is perfectly ready to use and glue from that point onwards, but generally the thicker the plywood, the more likely you are to have that layer of soot on there when you remove it from the bigger piece of wood. Just before we leave the plan, I thought it might be a point to mention that in addition to all the wood pack and the formers and the ribs that you're provided with, available are things like the canopy and a spinner, just to really finish off the model to a high standard. It's much easier in many respects to sort of use one that's pre-formed for you than trying to find an aftermarket version that very often isn't quite the right size, or it's very difficult to manufacture. So it's all these extra things like spinners and canopies that really help finish off the model to a high standard and really wow your club mates when you take the model down the field for the first time. Okay, so there we have it. Plans, wood packs, quality accessories like spinners, cowls, etc. Everything you need to finish off a unique model built from scratch by you. We're really proud of the plans that we have here at Traplet. As I said earlier, they're by designers like Brian Taylor, Dennis Bryant, and several of the big names that you see flying at the shows around the country. If you get yourself a copy of the plans guide, or indeed you can look on the web, we're constantly adding to that range. Almost every month there's something new to have a look at. And it's not just big scale models like the Spitfire we've looked at today. It's all kinds of small electric models, much smaller wood packs. There's something for scale gliders, sport gliders, electric designs. It's all there either in the plans guide or on the website. So please do, as I say, check back frequently and see what's available to you. Well, that's pretty much it for wood packs and what you get. All that remains for me to say is that I hope you have a good winter building, and maybe I'll see you at one of the shows with your new creation next year. Thanks for watching.